Welcome to Nickel City Chronicles. Today my guest is Marshall, Bertram, and Darlene Gates. And I'm going to let them tell us about themselves for a little bit, and we'll get into some conversation about nursing homes here in Western New York. Marshall, why don't you tell us what you do, your career path, and and then you can give it over to Darlene, and we can start from there.
Right on. So yeah, my name's Marshall. I'm an attorney and a union organizer with 1199 SEIU. Been there for about 4.5 years now, mainly organizing nursing home workers. Yeah. So, I've been in kind of the union world, workers' rights world for about 10 years. After law school, I dabbled a little bit in some environmental stuff, some fair housing work, and then found myself at the Western New York Workers Center for a few years, and then here a couple of years ago. Nice. And I got to work with fine folks like Darlene Gates here.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Darlene, what is it you do?
That was so nice, Marshall.
I like to lay it on.
What I do is I'm not a stay-at-home mom, but I have 8 kids.
Wow.
That I have adopted. Yep, I'm pretty.
So you know a lot about taking care of people.
I love taking care of people. That's my passion.
That seems like it.
And I'm also a home care worker. I've been a home care worker in home care for 21 years.
Wow. And
I'm also a business owner as well.
Excellent.
And but my passion is taking care of people.
Yeah.
And like I said, and I'm also a union delegate. So.
Wow, that's good.
Chief union delegate.
Chief union delegate.
Even better. So you guys came over. I brought you on because with this whole COVID thing going on, the nursing home seems to have been hit the worst. And everyone sees the newspaper. Wall Street Journal just had an article saying that there's more deaths than we thought, but the issue what we're going to talk about today is not just what happened with COVID, is that there's not a lack of resources in our nursing homes here in Western New York, and maybe not even just Western New York, just maybe in the whole country. So leading up to COVID, it seemed like nobody was really paying attention to the resources that nursing homes had. And now, all of a sudden, this disaster happens, and now people are starting to notice that we were not prepared for something like this. And this could have been handled a lot better had we had put precautions in place. So why don't let's talk a little bit about, for some examples of some things that we need to, get better at.
Yeah, so I think you're exactly right. Like, COVID didn't cause the issues in our nursing homes; it just exposed them. Right? They were functioning like on a thread for years and years and years. Right? This minimal staffing, hoping that no infection like this ever happened. Right? That would implode what some of these homes.
Yeah.
Not having enough supplies, not having enough personal protective equipment. Right? And just functioning on the thinnest of threads. And then all of a sudden COVID hits, and it's like a machete on that thread, and it exposes all of these shortcomings in nursing homes that have been ignored for years, all these issues. So for instance, like some examples, so we're talking about like staffing, whenever in a nursing home for years before COVID, whenever somebody calls in, it just causes it's hectic, right?
So short staff, number one.
Yeah, somebody calls in, there's not enough staff to cover.
We don't know what to do.
Right?
Everybody has their duties, and then nobody's.
Yeah. So somebody's kid gets sick, they get sick, their car breaks down, all of a sudden it's chaos.
Which is things that actually happen.
Yeah. And that was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden you start having workers getting COVID, workers' families getting COVID, all this stuff. And then it's not just one worker that's calling in causing chaos. It's, a ton of people that can't make it to work. They can't be at work. And there's just nothing organized, nothing there for safety, for backup.
Wow.
And it's been that way for so long,
And what do you think's behind it? Just the conservative mindset of like spending with healthcare providers?
I don't want to make it a conservative, like a political party kind of thing, right?
Yeah, that's a bad word to choose. I mean, like, you know,
capitalist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have this functioning system where you can't just overspend everywhere. Like if we could, we would. But people sometimes have to try to make these decisions, like how much do we give funding to schools? How much do we give funding to healthcare or whatever? And nursing homes, they get X amount of funding. And it goes to employees, it goes to whatever, you know, whatever the list is. And for some reason, it seems like short staff is one of the biggest issues that we're dealing with. And, you know, during COVID, people get COVID, they can't come into work. What happened? Like, how did that go?
So you're talking about the underlying issue, what caused all this is, you know, it can be traced to like a decision, right?
Yeah.
A couple decades ago, there was a decision to move away from how our typical homes were structured: nonprofit, church-based, county-run homes, right?
That was
like
you said a couple decades ago. That's how it was. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you still have some county-run homes. You still have the Erie County nursing home, Terrace View. And you still, like, where I grew up, there's a Livingston County home, where my grandmother lived for years until she passed over the summer.
Yeah.
But so there's still remnants of those, and a couple of nonprofits are still around. But there was a giant move away from those nonprofit, church-based, and county-run homes to for-profit models, right?
Right.
So you saw for-profit owners coming in and buying up these places because they saw this massive opportunity for profit, right?
It sounds so like evil, but it's like it's almost you got to realize it's natural in a market system.
I mean, and you see, these trends happen everywhere, right? It's privatization, right? You know, going from something that's publicly owned or nonprofit or like publicly owned, and going to a privatization model, right? Where, you have a direct incentive that, these owners own a chain of nursing homes. If they cut down on staff,
make
more money, right?
Right.
Every nurse that's not on staff is $24 an hour. These owners are pocketing, right?
Wow.
If they spend less money on food or like lower quality food, that's more money these owners are making, right?
Wow.
And it's gotten to the point where, like, some of these places have, and this is just a really like tangential like anecdote, they buy pre-made coffee that's liquid in a bag and heat it up, and it's the grossest stuff you'll ever imagine.
We're talking about
coffee's important to me. So.
Yeah, we're talking about our grandparents, our mothers and fathers who lived their lives, and some of them contributed immensely to our society. So many different jobs and careers that they had and retired, and we're just going to give them liquid coffee to heat up. Sounds pretty terrible. Yeah.
Insidious. Who does that?
Yeah, we have to take care of our elderly. Like, this is something that seems common sense. So yeah, short staff is one thing. What are some other things that you're noticing in some of these areas, some of these places?
I just like to piggyback on something that Marsha was saying. Like, through that transition as a worker, what we noticed is, like, many years ago, decades ago, we were staffed appropriately. If someone needed that one-on-one attention or care, it was provided.
Yeah.
Slowly, and you always, like you said, you always have problems, short staff, but I work in a non-for-profit facility. Can we say the name?
Yeah, sure.
I work at Weinberg, and they had, they were like ahead of the game.
Yeah.
It was like I would leave home and go to my home. It was like my second home.
Right.
Where you can cook a meal if somebody wanted steak or whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
As long as it was within the plan of care, you can do that right on the units. You will be able to come in and smell cookies, and they'll have their coffee, and it was just like being at home.
Yeah, and that's what it's supposed to be, right?
Yes.
We're not putting these people in prisons.
Exactly.
We're putting them they're supposed to live their life in retirement.
And we also had families where you had potlucks, and you had, if we wanted to create a casino night, we had that.
Yeah.
And slowly to see it just weed away, It's crazy.
Yeah. So people like yourself that do it for the passion. Do you see a lot of people? Is there more people out there like that? Is that something that's getting less of, or?
It's becoming less of because the short staffing is a big one, and it's like impossible to complete the task of give quality care, to complete your task that you were hired to do.
Right.
To the residents. It becomes, you're just in and out of a room real quick where it shouldn't be that.
Yeah.
Well, real quick,
yeah.
I think we can say we see that bringing it back to this shift to for-profits, we see the paradigm in these homes being, because for-profits make up 70% of our nursing homes in New York State now. It's pushing everybody down, pushing the quality of care down in all of our homes, right? And making it like this model that Darlene's saying. It's not like you go into a room and provide the care that's needed regardless of anything, right?
Right.
It's like you go into this room and you've got 20 minutes and out, right?
It's like cookie cutter version of taking care of somebody.
Yeah, you have to find a shortcut in order to get to the next person. Otherwise, there's no way it could be done.
That's sad. Because these are, we're dealing with people who, like I said before, these are our grandparents. These are the people that we love. You might not know every single one of them, but we have to look at every single one of them as if it's one of our grandparents, because it is somebody's grandparents. And the model seems like it's set up for, do your 9 to 5, do your 5 to 12 or whatever, and get out of there. And don't do any extra work. Just do what you're told. Do your duties. Here's the regulations. Don't do this. Don't do that. Do this. Do that. Instead of the old model, which was people come in and cook food for people, start a bingo night, and remembering this is where they live. This is their home.
Yes.
This isn't a prison system. This isn't a facility. Technically it's physically a facility. But this is someone's living place. This is where they live. This is where they sleep. This is where they eat. We got to take care of these people. So, the next thing I wanted to get into, and I'm sure that people are going to be asking, what did Cuomo do? What did Cuomo do? And I don't want to focus on too much on the problem, but I do want to address what happened was, I was reading a Wall Street Journal article that said that the numbers got switched over from nursing home deaths to hospital deaths. And the reason why was because we have a capitalist system. Once again, this is the same root problem, where these hospitals were getting credits for having an intake of someone with COVID. So they switch over the person from the nursing home to the hospitals as quick as possible, so that the understaffed hospitals, who also are understaffed, can get their funding so they can do what they have. So there was a legitimate reason why he did what he did. I'm not going to say it was right, because he's under fire now for it. But that brings us back to the issue. Is we're dealing with this as a model for how can we get the most funding or the most money and make the most profit, instead of actually thinking about how can we save lives, how can we treat this better, how can we come together and make this the clear path to a solution, So I just wanted to throw that out there and get that out the way. It's I don't even care about the problem with Andrew Cuomo. My whole thing is, and I want to steer this conversation, is how do we prevent another COVID disaster from happening, and so that people in nursing homes can get the care they need, and we don't have thousands of people dying. Yeah,
exactly. I think that's exactly right. Cuomo isn't the cause of this issue, right? Yeah. The governor before Cuomo, same nursing home issues existed then.
Yeah.
Same nursing home issues existed the governor before that and the governor before that, right?
Right.
These things have existed for years, and COVID just exposed them.
Yeah.
So, regardless of all the scandal that surrounds Cuomo, he's not the cause of the issues in our nursing home.
The problem is bigger than that.
Any more than, his dad was.
Right.
So, if Cuomo resigned today, those issues are going to still exist unless we do something about them.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And so,
that's not going to change anything.
Right now, he's trying, the good thing is Cuomo's pushing for nursing home reform, right? So, that's what we're looking for. That's what we need, is that reform.
Yeah.
And I think one of the sad things is that the New York State Department of Health put in a report they issued in the middle of COVID, put a lot of the blame on workers for bringing COVID in the facilities in one of their reports, right? So I think that mantra has existed throughout COVID and for a long time, is putting blame on individual workers, right? Like we were talking offline a little bit, right? If there's an investigation, usually it's about one worker not doing something, right, and causing an injury to a resident. But rarely does those investigations look at the bigger picture, right? Like, was there enough staff, right?
Right.
Could that worker have found another staff member to help lift that resident, right? So they didn't have to do it by themselves,
right?
So rarely do those investigations kind of look at that. And I think now that COVID has exposed these issues, right, in nursing homes, right, only now is focus being taken off of the individual worker, because that's an easy blame to take, right? And looking at the systemic issues that we're seeing.
Yeah.
So yeah, regardless of all the scandal and everything, there is reform legislation. There's stuff in the that's going to be in the budget that addresses some of these issues.
So you said legislation is something being passed, or are we still in the process of writing this and trying to get it even be known?
No. So right now in the budget, last I knew, in the budget now there are bills that are going to address nursing home reform. It's not everything that our union 1199 is pushing for,
but it's a start.
It's some of the stuff that we're pushing for, and we're lobbying hard to get the rest of that in there to address the stuff that that has created the issues that we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean this is like something that's been at the forefront. I think. I mean, we shouldn't worry about, like, we all talk about our taxpayer dollars and where it's going. And like, we all want roads to be fixed, we all want bridges to be fixed, but we all should want our elderly to be taken care of, number one, because that's just the common sense. Like, people who need to be taken care of, like, for example, elderly, when they have nobody to take care of them, they have to go to a home. There shouldn't be a question of, is this person going to be taken care of? It should be handled right away. Like, this just shouldn't even be a question. More fun, like, what would more funding do? Like, it would get us more staff, it would get us, what else would it do?
Well, so the issue with more funding, and that's something, so how it works is this, right? Basically, in a nutshell, this is kind of simplifying it, but you have a resident in a home, right? More likely than not, they're a Medicaid resident. They get paid by Medicaid, and it runs about, let's just say $200 per day for that resident, for each resident, right? There's private pay and there's other ways of paying, but a lot of the portion of the elderly are in nursing homes on Medicaid.
Right.
So nursing homes get compensated, like I said, approximately $200 a day per resident. So our union, and employers push the state to put more money into that, to pay more than $200 a day for a resident, because care does, cost more than that sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And we've done that for years and years and years. Been pushing the state to put more money into nursing homes, and we're still going to do that. But the problem is that money goes into nursing homes, right? And some homes might do well with it, right? They might spend it responsibly,
right.
and have high standards of care and try to spend that money the best possible. And then other homes we see pulling, 30%, 40%, 50% of that money out of the home for profit, and then spending the remainder. So instead of spending, instead of a nonprofit where all that money goes back into the home, right?
Right.
A for-profit, half of that money might come out, right? And so that resident that used to be getting $200 a day, in a for-profit facility, so they can line the owner's pockets, they're getting $100.
Right.
Right.
I think
throwing money at it is not.
I was just going to say, it's not how much we get, how much the budget is. It's about how the money gets spent, and I think we keep going back to this one thing, is the for-profit system is not working. That's got to go, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. I mean, this is not you can't make money off helping people, like caring for people. It's just something that you have to just pay for. It's like I mean, you got your union concrete finishers, right? And, you know, their duty is to fix the roads and pour concrete and do driveways or whatever their job is. And that's the goal. Like, it's not to your profit goes to paying employees and to paying for equipment, paying for concrete, and you kind of recycle it that way. But in a nursing home situation we're not selling anything. There's nothing to sell here. We're just trying to help people and take care of people. It's really simple. Like, this is something that should be just put into our taxpayer dollars without even question, I think.
Yeah. And I think, so one of the things in the bills too, like we were talking about, if they just get $200 a day per resident, they can spend, for-profit places can take as much as that as possible as they want away, as long as they're, you know, not having any catastrophic issues in their facilities.
Yeah.
But one of the things in our legislation would make it so they're required to spend a certain percentage of that on resident care. So,
yeah.
So I think it's 40% or 70% of that money has to go towards resident care, right? So they, you know, 70% of revenue, and then 40% has to go to staffing, right?
Right.
And, you know, I mean, Darlene on the ground can speak to how much that would help.
Yeah, what would that do for you if you, let's say you got to double your budget tomorrow? What would that do for you? What can you do with that?
Oh my God, if it's going...
Just the thought of it makes you kind of...
Excuse me. Yeah, if it's going towards direct care, I mean, as it should, you know, it would make so many people happy. Every nursing home has that vicious cycle.
Yeah.
We're always worried about, oh my God, if I go in here today, I hope I don't have to float to another floor. I mean, you make one floor short, you know, just to staff another floor. Like you said, it's just a vicious cycle. So if we could put a stop into that, it would bring people mental health morale up.
Yeah.
Where we can get back to the basis of what we were hired to do,
right.
which is take care of the resident.
Yeah.
You know, it'll stop that dread of I'm getting out of healthcare altogether. I mean, because it's impossible to meet the needs of the client.
Right.
Had so many people leave healthcare because of this,
yes.
Because of COVID, because of, you know, how, you know, they're just, it's kind of like I was thinking the other day, the way that like our frontline healthcare workers are treated, it's like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Neglect?
Not neglect.
Underappreciated?
It's like a hostage situation.
Oh, okay.
Where it's like,
I agree.
Right? That's what it feels like watching,
yeah.
like talking to like some of our nurses and aides.
When you talk to some of these nurses and aides, you know, some of them, it's like they know if you go into work when COVID hit, and even before COVID, and your mindset, you're already getting prepared because you know you're short because my coworker may be out on COVID or what have you. And I get there and I'm being told now the routine that I had planned in my mind, now you have to go somewhere else and cover somewhere else. And it's like, wow. Forget this. I might as well just go home.
Yeah.
You know?
And I was just going to say, like, that little bit of extra help would take away some of the stress that's involved in trying to get these tasks done. And with the stress being done, now you can handle your job better and care for people better because you're happy.
Yes.
You want people to be happy that are taking care of our elderly. You don't want them to be stressed out, running around. I have to mop the floor here. I have to do this. I have to do that. You want everyone to be calm and collective because that's where this is. Like I keep saying this, but it's true. This isn't a prison system. This is our homes, and we treat it. It almost seems like it's being treated like a institution where people get sent to go and they have to bare minimum staff and like you see in jails. Like you don't see a lot of people working in jails making sure those inmates are having a good time. That doesn't happen. But there's no way a nursing home should be ran the same way, profit-wise. And for the staff, it's like, it's common sense. Like, why would you want the person taking care of your grandparents to be stressed out and to be like run like a slave almost, whereas they're taking care of the person? You want them to be happy and joyous, and you want them to bring that joy to our loved ones, pass it down to them.
Yeah, and talking about like having being taken care of, right? You can't take care of anybody until you're taking care of yourself. right? Like,
yeah, that's such a good point.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I might have slaughtered whoever that guy
No,
was,
you said it right. That's true.
But so I always think, like, you know, another thing that's rampant in our homes is low wages, right? Like, you know, we have aides that are making like $12.50 an hour right now, and I swear every person that comes to new orientation says, you know, they're making more at McDonald's. I hear that all the time.
Yeah, this is like, not a career that should be.
I can't explain that to you. Like, I can't tell you why that is. I can tell you that we fight with, you know, every single employer to raise wages. I can tell you that we try to squeeze them to pay people more, but they just are you know, so obstinate about it. And you know, and then what happens is, you know, they come to work, their car breaks down, they can't find quality child care. You know, they can't find somebody to take care of their parents, right? And so what happens is they've got a number of stresses at home in their home life because they don't make enough money to take care of themselves and their families, right? And that's another like thing that they bring into work, right? You're going to bring that into work.
Yeah, why would you want someone in that mental state to be in a place to take care of people? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and if you're at home and you know you don't have stable child care or elder care or a good car situation or a good housing situation, right? And then you go into work and you're facing this chaos, right? Where like somebody else calls in and all that work just falls onto you because there's no staffing, right? What's that doing for that person, right? Like how is that person supposed to show up with 100% for our elders, right?
Right.
So we need to take care of the people that are providing care.
Yeah, so this starts from the bottom up. We got to build our foundation, which is the people that work there. Make sure their needs are met. Make sure that there's enough staff so that if someone does call off, that it's not an issue. It's handled. We got people backing people up. We got all types of different employees doing different things, and you know, multi-faceted jobs too. People were doing multiple stuff at once. If that's the case, you got to have, you know, a system where it's not gonna crumble when one person falls out of that. Not like, you know, like what's that game where you pull the wood pieces up?
Yeah. Jenga.
Jenga.
Right?
Yeah, you don't want this to be like Jenga, where one employee walks out and the whole thing crumbles. It's gotta be strong from the bottom up. There's something I was thinking about when you were talking about the churches back in the day used to run these nursing homes, and they went more efficiently because it was coming from a place of charity rather than a place of profit. So in a modern day, today, I mean, who would step up instead of having business owners and people looking to make profit off these buildings? Who would step up and run these places? What's an ideal situation look like?
I mean, so right now this legislation we're pushing is really just trying to hold for-profit owners accountable.
Yeah.
Right? Make sure that they're doing right by our elders, right?
Okay.
If we're talking about a complete reversal, like going back to the systems we used to have, right, which might not have been perfect, but you know aren't the kind of catastrophe we're facing now.
Yeah.
You know, I think you're looking at your nonprofits, you're looking at, you know, city and county governments like stepping up, right, and buying some of these homes again, right, and opening these homes. And I think those are really the places you're going to see, if anywhere else.
Yeah.
Not exactly something we're focused on. That's like it might be like the long-term goals,
right,
like extra long-term goals.
Yeah. So it's not about attacking people that are trying to make a living. Like if your career path in business and you want to own nursing homes and you want to make that your career and make money off that, that's fine. But we should have regulations. Like you have to do this, this, and this, no matter what. No questions asked. Those have to get done before you can make your money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty common sense too.
Yeah.
You know?
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing, like some of the schemes like these for-profit owners do are just out of this world too. Like they'll hire subcontracted companies, right? So say they'll take the housekeeping, they'll take the environmental services department, right? They'll just fully subcontract that to another entity.
Wow.
And this entity, more often than not, is owned by a cousin, brother, or nephew,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Pay them. There's no oversight over that contract, right? They can pay
just
them.
do whatever.
pay them whatever they want, and of course that subcontracted company is, staffing is going to suffer, right? The quality of the chemicals they're using is going to suffer, or if it's dietary, like the quality of the food is going to suffer, right? And then more money goes to that for another layer of, the person that owns that subcontracted company, right? The middle managers in that subcontracted company, the supervisors on the ground of that subcontracted company. Yeah. So we've seen that quite a bit, where they're, that's a way that they take money out of the facility, pay a relative, a friend, a business ally, and then that money there's no oversight into that. So another thing this bill would do is make it contracting much more transparent, right? Require reporting on these contracts, and
that's a good idea. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that. That was good that you brought that up. And then that leads me to my next thought that I was thinking of is, where's there more problems in these big nursing homes that have hundreds and maybe 1,000 people in them, or is it smaller ones that have just a few people in them? What do you think about that? Like, was there a difference, or is it just?
I think there's problems pretty much throughout. I mean, Darlene can talk a lot more about what those problems look like.
I just think the problems are the system is the system.
Yeah.
No matter where you go, it doesn't matter if it's big or small. It's still that problem.
So that has no difference at all, whether it's
not
small
really
place.
A big difference. I mean, you're talking about a place that has money where I work, like I said, where people pay out of their pocket, and I still see it and suffer from the structure that's in place. Yeah. Imagine, in another system, it's just it could be one worker to 30 residents. Yeah. That's happening a lot.
Right. I think, like I was saying before, I think there's some for-profit owners that are just unscrupulous, like, siphoning money out of these places, like it is their job, right? Like, siphoning money out as much as they can, and that brings down every nursing home, right? Like, so that setting the standards, right? Like, and they own so many nursing homes in New York State now that they're like setting the standards,
because it's the market.
So even like a nonprofit, even a nonprofit like Weinberg that at one point was the epitome of like a quality nursing home, is facing there's different standards across the state, right? It's just a different place than it was like 20, 30 years ago when Darlene was talking about, like, a resident asking for a steak. You'd go down the street to Tops and pick up a steak and cook it up for this resident, and they'd be, they have a great home cooked steak. Yeah.
And I want to stress, it's not, I keep saying workers, our patients, they know the difference. Yeah. We hear the stories of the patients is really powerful. They talk about how hard they've worked all their lives to come to retire, and then they break down. We have to deal with hearing the stories if they don't have their relatives or loved ones. They break down mentally saying, I didn't work my butt off to come into a place like this, and I deserve this. Right. And I'm not going anywhere else. This is it for me.
Yeah, that's mind blowing. Like, that's gonna be us one day.
Yeah.
We all, everyone watching this is our fates. Like, we all of us, hopefully, hopefully we're all gonna grow old one day, and someone's gonna have to take care of us. So we have to keep in mind, we're invested in this ourselves, because this is our futures that we're talking about. One day I could be in a nursing home, and I could have been like, whoa, when I was in my 30s, I wish I would have pushed hard for a reform, because now here I am sitting in this for-profit place, and I don't even have anyone here to help me or cook for me. Whereas if we actually do push for this and bring awareness to everybody, we can push to make these things better. And it might take time. It might take 10 years, 20 years, but we have to start somewhere. You know what I'm saying? I think the issue is the way the market is designed is, when, like you said, when one nursing home pulls down the standard so they can make the most money, other nursing homes see that, oh wow, he's making a bunch of money. I'm gonna do what he does. I'm gonna copy exactly what he does. And then you got 2 of them, and then you got 3 of them, and then you got a whole Western New York, all of them running the same way. That's how the market works. The market you always emulate whoever's making the most money. Whereas if we switch the system around, whereas it's not just about market, and I'm not saying people shouldn't be able to make money and buy nursing homes, and maybe someone has a passion for, they want to open up some nursing homes and make it the best nursing home around. We need more of that too. So it's not just about the market itself, but I think it's more about how we look at it. Instead of being this for profit thing, you need to look at it as like, this needs to be, we need higher quality care for the patients, you know?
Yeah.
And it really seems like something that's so common sense, but it's just not happening. It's just not. And it's seeing a lot more in people nowadays, my family being one of them, to decide, because I had my grandmother in the early 2000s was in a nursing home, and, you know, we had an okay experience with it. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't the greatest. But now my other grandma is in need of care, and we're doing it from the house, where we have people come, my mother, my aunt, and then another nurse that comes in on a regular basis, checks up on her, makes sure she takes her medications. And I think based off like what's happening and what people saw with the whole COVID thing, I think more people are going to decide to do that. And we don't necessarily want that to be the case. We want people to look forward to putting people into nursing homes, because like, it should be a place of retirement where people are happy, live their lives, and ride off in the sunset. You just lived a great life, and now you have the rest of your, whatever, 10, 20 years of your life to be comfortable, yes, to be treated like somebody who deserves to be treated good for all the things you did in your life. Not just thrown in the system like it's jail, like you're done, here, just go rot somewhere. That's just like, you would think this would be in everybody's mind. We all have family. None of us are just sitting there by ourselves. We all were born from somewhere, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. Like, these are some things that I think we should be like pushing for, you know? Yeah,
totally. And it is like, it should be a public good, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is. It's our elders, right? Not everybody can. You know, no offense. Like, it's awesome that your mother or your grandmother is like staying home, yeah, right? It's, you know, a great setting. Not everybody can do that though, right, either, right?
Not everybody can afford it, right?
A ton of people.
Because you have to do that. You have to somewhat privately invest. Like, yeah, she's on Medicare and she gets some help health-wise, but we have to pay for food. We have to pay for all this stuff. Yeah. Not everybody has that opportunity. So, like you were saying, I didn't mean to cut you off. But,
no, yeah, totally. And it also brings up other interesting dynamics in the nursing home. If we can kind of get a feel from like just the reform bills that we're working on, is that, you know, there's a huge racial divide in nursing homes as well, right? Like, you know, you see most of our city nursing homes are, you know, by and large people of color in there as residents, by and large people of color like in Medicaid, right?
Yeah.
That are, you know, not getting enough money, right? And then these city nursing homes are also the ones that are taking money out of the homes. I mean, it's for-profit nursing homes are ubiquitous throughout the system, but you know, combine that with being in a city nursing home, right, and the quality, that's where a lot of the horror stories are coming from.
Yeah.
Right. Like the one nursing home we had on Delaware Ave just shut down the other year after, you know, 2 residents died in a very short period of time, both from neglect from the nursing home. So you're also like on top of the issues of, you know, nursing home workers being like underpaid and understaffed, and our residents like quality of care suffering because of like these for-profit owners like just siphoning money off. There's also like these big racial issues that, you know, some of the worst nursing homes are by and large like mostly people of color that are working there.
That's just
right?
that's just a reality.
And living there too.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, is because like, when somebody goes into a nursing home, doesn't matter if they made $1 million in their lifetime and created all these businesses and wealth and all this stuff, or if they literally didn't do anything in their entire life, or, you know, came from a rough background, whatever the people are different. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has a different life, different world, different story, different worldview. That should not matter when somebody goes into a nursing home. The care should be equal for everybody. So, I mean, yeah, if someone's got money and they want to spend, it's people who are rich, they probably be taken care of at their own house or something like that. They can pay for it, which is fine. Do that all you want. But not everybody has that. We were just talking about it. Not everybody has that luxury. When you go to a nursing home, it doesn't matter if you're in the middle of Compton or whatever, or if you're in Beverly Hills. Nursing home standards should apply everywhere. The greatest quality possible. And is that something that you've experienced? Like, you've seen different treatment in different locations?
Yeah.
That's something we can get into too.
Yeah, definitely. You have something you want to say?
Look like you're itching to say
No.
something.
I'm just saying.
Because if that's an issue, that should be brought up too. Like, that's definitely a big...
It's always an issue. I'm going to say it again. I think the system is the system. You know, I could be a millionaire sitting in my nursing home, and which we have,
Yeah.
right? But the meal, the poor quality of food is still the same.
Right.
My dish is no different than the next person sitting next to me.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And if I'm short-staffed today, guess what? I'm part of the system.
Yeah. Yeah, you become, and you mentioned the word hostage for the employees, but it's also a system, it's also a word you can use for the patients. Like, you are held hostage to the system. There's nothing you can do. You're in that situation. You can't leave. You can't walk out and go somewhere. You have to stay there.
What I meant with the workers is kind of like, because I never get to flesh that out. Like, the hostage situation for the workers is basically like you know, care for the resident is the most important thing, right? Like, you're told that, and like, you know, like Darlene is, you know, she believes that with her whole heart and soul, and I can tell you from experience.
Yeah.
So, like, resident care is the topmost thing, right? And then, you know, say somebody calls in, or somebody, you know, you're short-staffed, you just don't have the staff to put on that day, right? You're told, go take care of these residents. Take care. You better give good quality care, but you're not given the things you need to do that. You're not given the staff. You're not given the
resources,
protective equipment. Yeah. You're not given the resources you need to take care of those people. So you're like in a hostage situation where, you know, I can't imagine like how many workers like have been put in that situation. Have been trying to like take care of residents and like internalize the fact that they just can't.
There's nothing they can do.
That there's, you know, they have like Darlene.
You can have 100 Darlenes where you have 8 children and you love to help people. You can have 100 Darlenes running 100 nursing homes, and there's not the resources aren't there to get your full potential that you could take and do what you got to do.
Yeah. And imagine when COVID hit, what were we short of? Masks, gloves, being made to wear protective equipment over. Hang up things that we were trained that once you finish with a client, this needs to be disposed of, you know. So if I'm being made to put it back on, and all of a sudden a Darlene or whoever gets sick, now what? Right.
And the harsh reality was, like we're talking about problems that have existed for building up to COVID. You said like COVID exposed it, but the harsh reality is thousands of people died that didn't have to die.
Yes.
They could be alive right now, and they're not here anymore. And people had to go through all that just terrible time period of grieving for your loved ones that didn't have to happen if we just put a little bit more resources towards our nursing homes. Mm-hmm. That's all we had to do.
Yeah, for sure. And you just think, you know, I always come back to the one thing that drives that kind of keeps me up at night is that, you know, we talk about staffing and like how that perpetuated like COVID in our facilities, the lack of staff, and I think of you know sort of facilities that have units in them, right? Like some nursing homes, you know, just have different units of residents, right? And staff usually work with the same residents, build up a rapport with those residents, right? You know, sometimes become like family, like
right, exactly.
Here, right?
Which is the goal, which should be,
So when you don't have enough staff members, right, what happens is you do what's called the float, right? You might get pulled from your unit and have to work on a different unit where they don't have enough people, right?
It's like a domino effect.
And if
one problem becomes 10 problems.
And exactly. So that was happening well before COVID. But then COVID hits, and you're talking about spreading the virus, right? That directly contributed to spreading the virus rampant in our facilities, right? So the worse your staff is, the more your workers are floating around, right? There were regulations.
The more they're carrying it around.
There were regulations saying don't make them float, but if you don't have the staff, you have to do that because you're not prepared for, like I was saying earlier, you're functioning on a very thin thread of like having enough staff to cover all the shifts you need, right?
Yeah.
And once that comes apart and you're floating around, you are spreading that virus all over your facility, right? And they don't have there was no infection control procedures in place at a lot of these facilities to prevent that.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And then what happened? And then it ended up turning into a situation where flood the hospitals with people from nursing homes and let them take care of it. And then the hospitals become overrun. It turned into a huge situation very quickly, and most of the problems came from nursing homes.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you think about it, I'm not trying to blame the whole COVID epidemic in New York on nursing homes, but if you think about it, if we would have been prepared in our nursing homes to handle and like you said, do the proper sanitation things and all that, the hospitals would have been less overrun because we wouldn't have had thousands of people getting thrown in these hospitals at once.
Yeah, I mean, it's some of the most vulnerable population in our country, right? Is our nursing homes, right?
Yeah.
They're elderly, right? Their immune systems are compromised in a lot of situations, you know. So those are the folks that need protecting the most, but are just thrown to the wolves in this for-profit industry, and turn into this factory setting, like we were saying earlier, where you take care of one resident, their care is complete. You go to the next, their care is complete. Like, you do the bare minimum you can because you have 10, 15, 20 residents sometimes, right? And that's why we're advocating for moving back to a system where you get enough time with your residents, where you can provide enough time with each resident to make it more like a family rapport, build a relationship with that person, take care of what they need without just like rushing in, rushing out to the next one.
Yeah.
It's the nursing home. It's like the healthcare equivalent of turning up the speed on the conveyor belt, right? That conveyor belt moves faster. You gotta make more widgets quicker, get more exhausted, and it increases injuries. It increases like stress. You get more issues.
Another factor is we haven't even mentioned is the population growth rate is getting higher and higher every decade. So 2 decades from now, we're going to have more need for more people to get for more help. There's going to be more people in nursing homes. I mean, it's just population keeps growing and growing every 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
And we need to keep up with that.
And the baby boomers, right? They're the ones that are gonna be filling our nursing homes.
They're not gonna. Yeah, it's almost their turn. Like, I hate to say it, but it's just reality. Like, that's gonna be. What do we do then? Yeah. We keep the whole our for-profit system in place when that happens. And how. And I was thinking too is like you, like we mentioned, you have 8 children. It's your passion to help people. You love that, so you fit right in for this type of work. How do you find more people like yourself to come and contribute to and make these nursing homes better?
It has to come going back, like Marshall was talking about, the old structure.
Yeah.
When I got started in home care, it was always training and incentives to want to do the work.
That's what I'm getting at. How do we incentivize people to want to make a career for helping people instead of just like getting $12 an hour people? Some kid in high school just wants to get a paycheck and just get in and out. We need to make this career. Like we were talking about, I had someone now. We're talking about prison reform, police reform, and how we need to treat cops like when you hire a doctor, they need to have a doctorate degree. Some of them have to have PhDs. They have to go to school for a long time. I'm not, and bringing it to the nursing home thing, I'm not saying that we should have like all these things in place to become a nursing home staff, but I think we should at least prop up the position where they make more money and have a better a better experience in that job, so that they can put their passion into it instead of just having a job where it's like, all right, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And then, like you said, they become hostages to the system, and they don't even like it, and they don't want it. They quit. You want people to be lining up for this job. That's what we want, right? I mean, that makes sense to me. It's like you want people. This should be a career path that people are striving for, and a certain type of person too, like you, like someone that actually wants to help people. Not everybody's cut out for that too. Not everybody is.
You're right. Not everybody is.
Yeah, it's just the truth.
And I feel like in every home there is like the Darlene Gates. There's some of our other facilities. They have people that have been there for like 30 years, 25 years. Not saying you've been there for 30 years.
That's all right.
But like, there's people that have been there for years that are the backbone of that facility, right? That are the career caregivers that everybody knows, that everybody looks forward to seeing, that everybody loves, that create that family mentality, right? And like you said, if you're paying people minimum wage, right, they're just cycling in, you know, they find they can make $1 more at McDonald's, or they can make $1 more like Delta Sonic, or get tips at Delta Sonic, right?
Yeah.
If you're not taking care of them, if you're not making it so it can be a career, then they're not going to treat it as a career. They're just going to go in for a little while, you know. When it's filled its purpose, they're going to go on to something else.
Right.
Because they need to chase that dollar. They need to chase,
Yes.
like, you know, if I want to go to school, I can't be making $12 an hour. I need a little bit more money. What am I going to do, right?
Right.
Or if I need to take care of my child, right? Are you going to, you know, you want to take care of your family at your nursing home, right? That you want to have this family relationship, but at the same time, you know, hierarchy of needs, my child comes first. I'm going to go to the higher paying job at McDonald's.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And there's, like, it's simple to put it that way because there's benefits at nursing homes. In a lot of our union contracts, we have, like, retirement benefits and health insurance benefits. It's different than just saying, like, the straight wage. But a lot of times people just need that money. People need money. You know, you can't think about retirement if you're making minimum wage and, you know, your car's broken down or you can't provide child care.
Yeah, and just having that peace of mind where it's like you don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about, you know, getting overtime or you know, you just, you know, you're in a peaceful mindset. That can go a long way because then you're giving that peaceful mindset back to the patients.
Mm-hmm.
And like it goes full circle, you know.
Can you? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've had like such times when, you know, the kids at home were, you know, maybe not on their best behavior, or like you're short-staffed at work. Can you talk a little bit about the difference of like how you show up at work during those?
You mean like stressed out?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I have my kids. Some of them have their own mental health issues, and
You're right.
I'm constantly, sometimes, not all the time, worrying about what's going on at home. You know, and then when I show up at work, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
You know, I need to leave my problems at the door.
Right.
You know, but then when I get to work, if I'm facing the shortages or what have you, or a system that's just not functioning well throughout the day, and it doesn't have to be someone just didn't show up at work. I want to mention like other departments that play a big role of me giving my direct care, whether it's housekeeping, maintenance departments, the kitchen staff, to be pulled in different directions at home, then come to work and be pulled in 10 different directions, and not being able to meet the needs of the clients and having to fill these different shoes is a bit much.
Yeah.
It's a bit much.
Yeah, because this is not like this isn't Wendy's where we're just serving something. We're taking care of a life.
You're taking care of a life, and you need.
You wouldn't want to stress out a surgeon right before he does surgery.
Exactly.
Why would you? We need to apply that to all type of health care. You know what I'm saying? Which is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, and another thing too is like when you have to go to work and you need a babysitter for your kids, you're not just gonna find anybody to do that job. You're gonna look for someone that you know that's gonna make sure everything gets done. And not gonna, you know, do anything, you know, illegal. Or, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So if that's how you feel about your own family, think about that. These are everybody that's in a nursing home is someone's family. So we need to apply that exact same mindset to in these nursing home facilities where we need to make sure these jobs are, people want these jobs, incentivize these jobs, good paying jobs. And like you said, so that good people, all types of people from all different walks of life can come in and leave their problems at the door. We all have problems. Nobody's perfect. But, you know, you can get them in an environment where, you know, it's not too chaotic and not too, like, floating, like you said, like getting pulled from what you're used to, the people that you know. You know, you go to work every day and you deal with you deal with a couple people that you're used to dealing with. But then you get pulled out and you get sent to someone that you don't even know, and all of a sudden all that chaos just gets like pushed into like a domino effect. You know, it really is like a domino effect. And if we could start, if that one domino never falls, none of the dominoes fall. We got to remember that, you know.
Yeah. I guess the one thing I would say is that, you know, we're really pushing this nursing home reform to be in the budget April 1st, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage anybody listening to this that, you know, cares about this issue, that has grandparents in nursing homes or parents in nursing homes, or is thinking about that, or friends or family that work in nursing homes to call their assembly member and tell them that we need nursing home reform in our budget this year. They can do that. We got an easy number that'll, you put in your zip and it'll connect you right to your assembly person.
Wow, that's excellent.
Yeah. So it's just call 833-756-1199. That's 833-756-1199. And it'll connect you right to your assembly person and just say, we need reform in the budget around nursing homes. That's what, anybody can do.
Yeah,
that.
so yeah, if everyone does that, we're going to get the ball rolling here, because this is something that needs to be done right away. Like you said, we're all invested in this. We all have family that needs to be taken care of, and all of us one day might need to be taken care of too. So just keep that in mind. It's like, how does this affect me? Why do I benefit from this? Well, you'll see very soon. Someone you love will be in a situation where they're going to have to go to a nursing home, and one day it might be yourself too. It might be me. It might be anybody. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, call that number. And you said you put your zip code in?
Yeah, and it'll just connect you right to
your assembly. Yeah. Perfect. And do you have anything else you want to say before we close out?
I just want to thank you for giving us this platform to address, our issues that's going on in the nursing home.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. And when I say we, I'm talking about all the workers that's been waiting for change for a long time. We need it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Neil.
Yeah, no problem. And like I said, this is something that this doesn't have to happen again. Like the situation that we saw with COVID and how it affected people in nursing homes, that never has to happen again if we can fix it now before the next pandemic hits. So thanks for coming, guys, and it's been great. And like, comment, share, whatever you gotta do. See you guys later.
Thank you.
Thanks.